Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking something that's honestly incredibly intimate, but also profoundly universal. We're diving into a raw, completely unfiltered audio diary that was recorded on May 23rd at exactly 15:39. What starts off as just this stream of consciousness reflection on daily habits, it quickly unravels into a really deep dissection of trauma, recovery, and how the media we consume kind of secretly reflects our deepest psychological needs. We're going to break down this singular recording to reveal some really fascinating psychological truths about how we heal, how we use the digital world to actually find ourselves, and what happens when life literally forces us to transform. All right, let's just dive right into it.
To kick things off, I really want to hook you immediately with this pretty surprising quote right from the source material. Think about your own digital habits for a second. We so often feel guilty for mindlessly scrolling or, watching seemingly mundane content on social media, right? We've all been there. But the author of this diary presents this stunning paradox. For her, consuming the simplest, most everyday lifestyle content of other people, it's not a distraction. It's actually a profound trigger for self-discovery. As she puts it, it literally returns her to her core. So you have to ask, how does watching someone else's totally normal morning routine help you find your own soul? Well, let's see how this builds. Which brings us to our first main theme, routine and vocalizing states. To really understand this, we first need to look at how the author actually frames her daily life. She treats self-therapy not as some occasional luxury, but as a form of daily neurogymnastics. It's a literal mental workout. And a core part of this routine is the act of vocalizing her states of mind. She's not just thinking about how she feels, she is literally speaking it out loud to process it. And here's the basic architecture of how she builds that mental resilience. She breaks habit formation down into 3 distinct steps. First, you start practicing an action, whether that's skincare, learning something new, or in her case, psychological grounding. Then, you just observe if you naturally return to it. If you keep coming back, well, it eventually anchors into your routine. But she notes something absolutely crucial here. The practice of vocalizing her psychological states aloud, that is one of the hardest habits to lock into a daily discipline. It takes immense effort to confront your own feelings verbally every single day. Yet, doing this heavy lifting creates the foundation for a massive breakthrough she ends up experiencing later that same day. Moving right along to our next section, content as a reflection of essence. This perfectly sets up her major insight of the day. It's an epiphany she has right after doing a routine digital purge. Like a lot of us, she regularly goes through her YouTube and Instagram subscriptions and just mercilessly unsubscribes from accounts that no longer resonate. The ones that feel kind of alien to her current state of mind. But it's who actually survives this purge that completely shocked her. She is actively ignoring educational, developmental content, all that highly productive stuff we're always told we should be consuming to constantly improve ourselves. Instead, what actually remains in her feed are just routine lifestyle vlogs. Specifically, she finds herself totally captivated by women who are significantly younger than her, women under 30, who honestly aren't doing anything extraordinary. They're just filming their everyday lives, their self-care, their mundane routines. And she admits she was really confused by this at first. Why on earth is a mature, highly self-aware woman so incredibly drawn to the simple vlogs of 20-somethings? Well, the answer lies in this really powerful concept of the mirror. She realizes she isn't watching these younger women because she wants to, say, copy their makeup or emulate their specific lifestyle. Not at all. She watches them because they reflect a related essence. Their warmth, their vibrations, their attitude towards the world as women, it all just resonates deeply within her own psyche. So the absolute crucial point here is this. She isn't watching them to become them. She's watching them to remember that she is like them. They represent this whole, vibrant, authentic female identity that she still holds within herself. Just watching them brings a literal warmth to her soul because it validates her own core identity. But that begs the question, why does she suddenly need this intense validation right now? Why does she need to be reminded of who she is? That takes us to Section 3, the impact of fateful events. This is exactly where the audio diary takes a bit of a darker, deeply vulnerable turn. The sudden need for this digital mirror didn't just happen by accident, It was actually triggered by recent, really fateful events in her life that were highly destructive. Something happened that completely shook her foundation. The raw psychological toll of these traumatic shocks is profound. She actually describes these recent events as having morally crushed her. Now, while they didn't completely destroy her core self-worth, they heavily offended her and basically broke her perception of things. She uses this incredibly evocative language, saying it felt as though her inner woman was slightly erased or even dirtied.
And here is the most humbling realization she shares with us. It honestly doesn't matter how disciplined you are. It doesn't matter how high your self-awareness is or how much of that neurogymnastics you do every morning. When fateful, universe-level events intervene, your discipline is totally overridden. You can't just manually fix the pain. You simply have to live through it. These events act as this brutal filter, totally stripping away any fake or artificially cultivated qualities you thought you had. Which brings us to her exact definition of what she is actually going through: transformation. Now, in the self-help world, we so often talk about transformation as this gentle, proactive choice, right? You wake up, you drink your green juice, do some yoga, and boom, you transform. But this diary defines it entirely differently. Transformation here is a mandatory evolutionary mechanism. It's an external force, maybe from the universe or a higher power, that decisively and, let's be real, often painfully, ends one stage of your life and forcefully launches you into the next. You don't direct it. You literally just survive it. It drops you right into a brand new reality where you are fundamentally changed. And that leads us right into our final section: returning to the self. So how exactly do you survive that forceful launch into a new life stage without completely losing your mind? Well, this brings us to the ultimate insight she arrives at during her audio recording. This is where we connect her painful, traumatic life events directly back to those seemingly trivial digital consumption habits we talked about earlier. She realizes that she isn't just randomly drawn to those lifestyle vlogs of younger women. Not at all. She interprets these algorithms and her own intuitive viewing habits as subtle, almost gentle hints from the universe. After a traumatic event that made her feel so broken and dirtied, the universe is stepping in and sending her a mirror to remind her of her own purity. The message is just so clear. Everything unnecessary, the anger, the pain, the heavy negative baggage from those fateful events, it will all naturally fall away. You don't even have to fight it. The universe is going to sweep it out for you. Watching these women reminds her of the pure, joyful essence she had when she first entered womanhood. It's a powerful reminder to just stop wasting energy on the dirt and the anger, and to concentrate entirely on returning to her true, authentic self. The content she consumes, it's her literal lifeboat back to her own soul. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to turn this powerful concept right over to you. We've just seen how a simple act of curating a YouTube feed literally became a lifeline for someone navigating a forced, super painful life transformation. It helped to remember exactly who she was when the world tried its hardest to break her. So take a hard look at your own digital environment today. When you feel lost, when life throws a fateful event your way, and all your daily discipline just totally fails, what do you naturally gravitate toward? What content out there serves as a mirror for your true self? Are you mindlessly watching things that just feed your anxieties, or are you actually finding the reflections that remind you of your own warmth, your own pure essence? It's definitely a fascinating question to ask yourself the very next time you open an app. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hey, I highly encourage you to go do your own digital audit today.